Arsenal against Aston Villa, both teams near the top of the table, both going for very different things. Aston Villa trying to get that Champions League spot, which they have lost in the last game week with Tottenham leapfrogging them, but they are on the same points. But Tottenham have a game in hand. And then Arsenal, of course, in this title race. Has anyone spoken about the title race? But what's interesting about this one is their title rivals in Liverpool and Man City will have both played by this point. So, Nubaid, I like to always go to you for these kind of things. So if we talk about the psychology of going first or being the last team to play, how will this change this game against Aston Villa? Who it's not one of those ones where it's their sort of cup final to kind of cause a stir and get a bit of spotlight. Aston Villa got a lot of stuff going on for themselves.
I think in terms of psychology, Arsenal could be third by the time they play, and at the moment they're first. And I think we spoke a while ago and said Arsenal actually don't want to be first for long, because when these guys are chasing, you don't want to be there. So this might actually work for them. But the issue they've got is they come into this game after playing Bayern. If they lose to Bayern, then all of a sudden you're playing last, now you're third. And because, we just had this conversation actually in the elevator. Liverpool and Man City are so used to being there that when Liverpool dropped points against United, it was like, hey ho, 7 games to go. Arsenal are not conceding goals. Arsenal are perfect. Nothing can go wrong. If things start to go wrong, what are they going to do? And the first thing to go wrong would be their title rivals, Liverpool go and beat Palace 4-0, City go and beat Luton 4-0, because their insurance policy is goal difference.
Of those three teams, and I guess more pertinently Arsenal, will all of them lose a game between now and the end of the season, do you think?
I think it's hard to say. I think certainly drop points somewhere.
So to that point, Arsenal, you would expect to drop points at some point. They've got the hardest set of fixtures out of the three. I think a big question mark is going to be for them and this will be after this game quite possibly, but maybe after this game I would imagine, the pang of getting over from dropping some points. That's going to be something that they've got to deal with. And in this game against Aston Villa, of course, they've got to play Tottenham as well, got to play Man United, got lots of tough games on the horizon. Is this one that you look at and you think, this could be the one?
No, I don't think so. I don't think this weekend is going to be the one that changes things. I think City with Luton at home will win. Liverpool having Palace at home will win. And I think if it was reversed and if we were talking about at Villa Park, completely different story. But Arsenal are so good at the Emirates, and Villa have a few injuries. They haven't been playing particularly well. Obviously, Man City beat them quite comfortably. They couldn't hold out and beat Brentford at the weekend either. So no, I don't think this will be the one. I think the title race itself is incredibly interesting. I think what you talk about, the psychology and the pressure, is something which gives me, as a City fan, confidence of that, because they haven't been at the top of the league pretty much at any point this season. So there hasn't really been that sort of pang of negativity. Like you say, like you'll lose a game or draw to Chelsea and it's like, oh, well, we weren't first anyway, so we'll just another few points to make up. Whereas Arsenal, I feel like it will mean more, because seeing yourself in the league table drop from number 1 to number 3, and you're looking ahead of you, and you've got Pep Guardiola's Manchester City and Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool, it's going to make a massive, massive impact for them, I think. So not this weekend will things change, but I think they will change soon.
They've also been perfect since the turn of the year. Yeah. That's the big thing. Like, they've been perfect, and it feels like they're Man City, but they're not. And that's where I go. That's where I don't think Villa is the game.
That's what I'm going to say. Because Ollie Watkins himself has said we have to have a big team. I don't know if he said club or team mentality. We can't be doing what happened in the game against Brentford. So in terms of Arsenal and the team that you're playing against, if you're playing against, I don't know, let's say Wolves, who they've got to play actually. If you've got playing against Wolves go, this is fun.
Yeah.
Whereas Villa are like, we need points. Like they're actually they're kind of Arsenal last season, aren't they? A little bit. You get those vibes from them. So that suits Arsenal, I think, in terms of that mentality battle.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, if you think back to earlier this season, Villa did beat Arsenal at home, and they were perfect. They had to be perfect to win. And so I think I look at this and I go, they tried it against City and it just didn't work. I don't know why Unai Emery went and sat in his box and waited for City to break him down. I actually think they're much better in a mid-block and try and play on the counter. But then, obviously, they lose Douglas Luiz for this game. He's obviously suspended. And he's the guy who gets them out of awkward positions. And so you're going to maybe pull McGinn in, who's the guy who gets you up the pitch, and then put Rodgers in the 10 and maybe Diaby on the left. Like, my theory on this actually is, if Unai Emery wants to defend, play Alex Moreno at left midfield and shut down Arsenal's right side, because that's where Arsenal will attack from. But if you're going to go pragmatic, go full pragmatic. Don't go halfway, which like you did against City.
Because they've actually conceded a solid amount of goals this year at 49, which is more than Spurs, who people generally feel is not leaky, but they'll give you a chance. And to the same point, both teams play a very high line. That feels like a problem when you're up against Arsenal. You think they would be able to exploit that space, would you not?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with Martinelli and Saka and Gabriel Jesus and Odegaard, who can just find spaces and find passes from seemingly nowhere, that's not the kind of team that you want to come up against. I think Arsenal will probably be licking their lips at this fixture. I think, of course, we mentioned that the Bayern Munich fixture coming before it will play a part. It's going to be a battle. No matter what happens in that Bayern fixture, it's going to be a battle. And they will be far more fatigued than they would be had they not had that fixture. But I just can't see Aston Villa putting up enough of a fight to take any points off Arsenal.
Final question when it comes to Arsenal is, do they rotate? Again, utilising your experience as a Liverpool fan, Klopp didn't really do that too much. He kind of went, well, no, these are the guys, off you go. And if you look at Arsenal and the players that they've used in this sort of great run, it's not many. I think it's sort of 17. And actually the amount of minutes they're playing each is very high as well. So he's going to have to rotate it. He did in the Luton game. Do you think he would do it in a game like this just to keep that freshness?
I feel it's quite risky because they've got momentum on their side. And also, I did touch on this on social media, actually. Out of all the top three, Arsenal have been lucky with injuries in the sense that City lost De Bruyne and Haaland, Liverpool have lost Trent and Alisson and Salah. Arsenal didn't lose Rice, haven't lost Odegaard or Saka. And I think...
Set it up, clip it up, it's him.
We need it. And so I think they'll look at this, and I think they'll probably rotate against Wolves, because Wolves comes after the second Bayern Munich game, and then they play Chelsea and Tottenham, and then maybe rotate against Bournemouth. But rotating at this point, I always feel like any player who's at their absolute elite level, this is the point in the season where they don't want to be out of the team. They want to play 12 games in 6 weeks, regardless of whether it's Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever day they're playing. Sure. There is one area, Jorginho, Partey, that may be where they can tinker a little bit, and maybe at left back a little bit. Mm-hmm. But everywhere else, I think you've got to stick to your guns.
Okay. Prediction time, what do you say?
I would say 3-0 Arsenal, I think.
Woo!
Yeah, I think it's going to be quite comfortable.
It comes with that heat.
No, I think it's going to be comfortable. We saw what happened when City played Villa, and like you say, they didn't really have a particular style of play. You didn't know what they were doing. Were they being pragmatic and defensive, or were they just trying to attack at full pelt? And it just meant there was so much space all over the pitch. I think without Douglas Luiz, who's probably been their best player this year, maybe. Yeah. So I think without them, I think Arsenal will have quite a comfortable day at the office.
I do think they'll win that midfield battle quite easily, even if they do rotate a little bit Arsenal, because Aston Villa are bare bones there, and I think Kamara's a huge miss. I think he's a massive miss defensively, because he gives that. You can have that high line because he can put out a lot of fires, and Douglas Luiz has been able to play higher. And so even if you didn't have Douglas Luiz for this, if you had Kamara, Tielemans can play that little bit higher up, and there can be that security there, which I don't think there is. So I agree. I think Arsenal will be fine, and I think they'll win the game 2-0. What do you think?
I think Villa just play long, try and gain territory, get like old school Villa, get Watkins in the channels, because if you don't do that, Arsenal will eventually break you down. So I'll go 2-1. I think Arsenal will start conceding at some point, but yeah, Arsenal win.